What's going on, everybody? This is Akil Mitchell, and you're listening to the Cavalier Connection.
Good evening. Welcome on into another edition of the Cavalier Connection podcast for the second time this week. I'm your host, Jack Lowe, joined as always by Jay Ballard and my dad, Jeff Lowe. Tonight, we discuss a big-time home victory over NC State Wednesday night. We talk our thoughts on the UVA football schedule that just got released, and of course, as always, our conference round edition of our NFL picks. Jay, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, Jack. Still riding high off the win last night, and the much anticipated interview with Akil was fantastic, and look forward to talking about that in a little bit.
Absolutely. Dad?
Doing great. Got a nice win last night. The Cardiac Cavaliers made an appearance last night. I'm happy to be here tonight for this podcast. No heart attacks last night. So I've made it to another one.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just go right with NC State as we can brief over it a little bit before we get to talking to Akil. So UVA, and I missed the first half, so you guys can kind of fill me in a little bit on that if you want to, but it seems as though they seem to be leading the whole first half, basically the whole game almost. Then in that second half there, NC State started to chip away more and more to the point where they were taking the lead with about a minute to go. Then UVA fought back a little bit, got it to overtime, and they seemed to take it over in overtime. So, Jay, you want to start us off here?
Yeah, we played really well in the first half, especially on the defensive end. Held them to 15 points, and I think we really frustrated them because they weren't getting very good looks. We were able to kind of keep them in front of us, which was a concern going into that game because their quickness gave us a lot of trouble when we played them in Raleigh. But last night we were able to keep them in front of us a little bit, closed out on the shooters well in the first half, and made Burns work, for the things he did get. I think a big difference, was having Minor in the game for 30 minutes on him.
Yeah.
Burns played 27, Minor played 30. I think that they pretty much were in there at the same times a lot of the game. We did blow. I think we had as big as a 14-point lead, maybe. If I'm wrong,
so,
Jeff,
yeah.
you can correct me.
You're around that, yeah.
But actually, Jack, at the end of that game, we were up 4 at the end of regulation, and gave up the last 4 points for them to send it to overtime. Then we took over.
Mm-hmm.
It was that's a win that you just grinded out. We didn't play particularly well on the offensive end. But they fought hard. I thought Reese tried to do a little bit too much when it was winning time. I thought he kind of forced things a little bit too much when he could have had some opportunities to pass. But overall, you're just happy you got the win. And there's a few other things I'll touch on, but I'll let Jeff take a turn here for a little bit.
Yeah. So a lot of times, like you said, just getting a grinded out win. We've had trouble with these physical teams, and so to be able to pull it out and just get the W and the win in the check mark in the win column is big. I just felt, NC State plays so physical, and to be honest with you, I feel like the same thing happened when we were in NC State. They get away with murder out there. Burns is hooking and pushing, and that shot he had to tie the game, he pushed off. He missed the shot, and they got the rebound put back, but he pushed off there. I just thought, I get a little annoyed looking at that NC State sideline begging for fouls, and I'm like, you guys have hands on our guys all night long. Casey Morsell had his hands on IMAC all night. They're just so handsy, and I don't understand. And for us to win a game like that is huge because, you just got to really play tough. When you play a team like that, they're so physical, and to hold them to 15 in the first half, that's some old school Tony Bennett defense right there. I thought Minor did an excellent job on Burns. Burns had 11 points, but like that first game we played him, Burns they were having a double, and he was making those good passes. They were hitting the threes, and last night there was none of that. And that's what we said, I think, a few podcasts ago. You just need to put a body on him, bump him around, knock him around. Even though Minor, in my opinion, he kind of looked like a stick against Burns too. But
Yeah.
Minor played tough. And I mean, he won't let Burns move him, and that was awesome. And I thought Ryan Dunn was outstanding last night. I think he had 6 blocks.
Yep.
What do you have? I think
13 and 12.
12 rebounds, 13 points, and that's the Dunn we need. Other than missing that one putback dunk that on Beekman's shot or somebody's shot, I mean, he made all the bunnies. He even made a foul shot last night, which was huge. But like you can see, he played with a lot of fire last night. That was awesome. And McNeely, what he ended up with 10
Tough
points.
night. 4 of
He
16
was
from the floor, 2 of
2 of
9
9
from
from the
3.
three. You know, the biggest thing, and I know we talk about it, is the foul shooting is rough. We got to be able to make our foul shots. Last night we were 7 of 13 at the line, but in reality, and they were 5 of 6. But in reality, those foul shots were coming because they were fouling to stop the clock.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is I gotta give Jay's boy Tane Murray
Tane
a
Murray.
lot of love. You know, I was really pleased. Rhodey played 12 minutes. And Tane Murray played 19.
Yep.
And that's because Murray was producing on the floor. He hit 2 threes, and that take he had to the basket was a nice take.
Yeah.
And those foul shots down the stretch, I mean, gosh, he was 3 for 4, which is for us, that's huge. So
Yep.
those are just kind of my takes from the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I like the minute distribution in this one a little bit better. You know, and I was saying to somebody on X last night, it's not always going to be Tane Murray. You know,
Right.
it's not like all of a sudden now the job is Tane's, and
Right, oh no.
you know it's going to be Tane one night, and then you know, the next game he may go out and look
And
really
Rhodey
bad.
might come out and hit 3 threes.
Right, and Rhodey could come out and play well. And you still got to, you know, we worked in Buchanan for 14 minutes. I thought those were good minutes for him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
4 points and 8 boards in 14 minutes. I'd like to see more of Groves, and I don't know how you manipulate the lineup to do that. Who comes out? You know, I wonder if he could go super big, you know, and play a 3. But I don't know if he's got the quickness to do that. But I would like to get his shooting on the floor because he's, you know, if he's willing to take the shot.
Yeah, if he's on, he's gonna shoot it. Yeah.
But Dante played 20. He kind of struggled, but you got to expect it to happen a little bit. You know, coming back off his injury, still a lot of rust there. So overall, just happy to get the win and move on. Survive and advance these games, and we've got a real favorable schedule coming up the next 3 or 4 before we close the season with a really tough stretch. So, very important win to get us to 5-3 in the conference, and you know we still have a chance at the double bye, and if you can get that, you've got a real good shot to get a tournament bid. So,
I was gonna say, I know, and you know, I said we can't get too high, can't get too low on this team, and I think I said a few weeks ago, don't be surprised, you know, because Tony Bennett's teams always still find their way in the top 4 in the conference. And I look at the standings, and right now we're tied with NC State and Wake Forest at 5-3, and then you got Duke 5-2, Florida State 6-2, and then Carolina's kind of running away with it right now.
Right.
But at the end of the year, even in our struggle years, we find a way to get to that top echelon of in the ACC.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't find a way to get that double bye.
Right.
Especially these games upcoming are big. You got to beat Louisville Saturday, and then we got
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. We got to get revenge on them and beat them.
No question.
Yep.
And that would be a 5-game winning streak in the conference, which would be huge. So.
Yeah. All right, well, we want to go ahead and show the people the much anticipated Akil Mitchell interview.
Yeah, let's
I think so. We had a great talk with Akil. Let's hear what he had to say. And here with us is a former UVA basketball player from the Joe Harris era, Akil Mitchell. How are you tonight, Akil?
Yeah, I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're all great.
All right.
We appreciate you coming on so much. as I just said, you're on the team with the famed Joe Harris. Had the trip to Tony's house after the lopsided Tennessee loss, which many say was a turning point for this program years ago. Do you have any stories or just any inside information about that meeting or anything that most people maybe wouldn't know about?
It's been a long time since that meeting. I do remember, yeah, that Tennessee loss got pretty ugly. And that was kind of the last game going into conference play. And it really helped us turn the season around. There wasn't any like, screaming or cursing or anything like that. Like there was no, you guys know Coach Bennett.
Yeah.
But it was all of the guys kind of bought in and recognized that, if we were going to do something special, we needed to do it together. And everybody was bought in. It didn't really, it wasn't like, it wasn't like you might think it would be in the movies or something like that, but it worked. It worked.
Yeah, I know the guys on TV. They talk about it. It sounded like I don't know, like see something you would see in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If we sell the rights to the movie, we'll make it more interesting than that. But
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm gonna try and get this right because there's a lot of them. So you played in the NBA, G League, New Zealand, France, Italy, Israel, Turkey, Greece, Puerto Rico, and most recently China, I believe, if that's all correct.
all correct.
So awesome. So what's it been like getting to travel the world just playing basketball, a sport you love?
I mean, if you could think of a better job, you let me know. I'll switch. But right now, I'm living the dream, man. Enjoying it. I didn't think that I would even play professionally. So, every day that I get to bounce a ball and get paid for it is a blessing to me. So, like I said, 10 years now, I'm hoping to play a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got the big three coming up right now too, don't you?
I did. I played in the Big Three last year. I don't know. I don't know if they'll let me come back. I left early to go to China. They didn't really like that I left early, so I don't know if they'll be having me back. But
Which
It was
team did you play for?
I was with Nancy Klein, or yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, her team, Team Power.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Jay and I went to ODU, so we know Nancy Lieberman Klein.
Yeah.
Not personally, but she's well known.
She's a legend, man. When she called me, I had to like double take my phone.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like Nancy
Mhm.
Lieberman calling me. Like,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, she's amazing. She's really nice, really
Yes.
smart, really. I mean, knows basketball like the back of her hand, man. She's
Oh yeah.
basketball savant.
No
Oh,
doubt.
wow.
But also, yeah, awesome lady. I enjoy working with her.
That's cool.
great.
Going back on all the countries you played in, do you have any crazy stories from being in all those other cultures?
I mean, China was the most recent one. I think, everybody hears stories about China, and how, just different it is from the States, which is true. Like the food and the lifestyle is very different. But the one thing that I definitely take from everywhere I go, is that people are all the same. The things that we all want, the things that we all, desire and wish for our families, your safety, your health, like the little things like that. People just want to laugh and enjoy their life. And no matter where I go, I'm always able to find like a common theme with people, and just enjoy the humanity of it all. Is what I've come to kind of find out. Is the best part about being able to travel like this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in Australia, I believe you had the serious eye injury.
Yeah.
Have you made a complete recovery? Is there still lingering issues? Do you still feel it to this day?
Yeah, man. If you push it like this, no, I'm joking. No, it's good, man. I'm healthy. So I actually, funny story about that. Everybody thought that I had lost my eye, like permanently. And for the viewers, if listeners, if you want to YouTube it, I'm sure it's out there. You can check it out. But everybody thought it was gone. Nobody thought I'd be able to like see. So the GM called my parents while I was in the ambulance, and it's like 4 o'clock. I was in New Zealand, so it was like 4 o'clock in the morning here. And you guys are parents. If the phone rings at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Oh
like
yeah.
not a good thing.
Nothing good.
No.
nothing good. So my parents are freaking out, and the GM's like, Akil's lost his eye. Basically, we don't know if he'll ever see again.
Oh wow.
And so everybody's freaking out. I was in the back of the ambulance, high on laughing gas, just enjoying life. The eye went in on its own. So
Ah,
like they gave me the laughing gas, and I just kind of like relaxed, and the muscles just kind of relaxed and went back into place. So by the time I got to the hospital, the doctor didn't believe me until we
Oh
showed him the
wow.
video, and he was like, "Oh my God, okay, well we need you to stay. We need to do all these tests and all these different things." But yeah, man, I was fine that night.
Oh
Yeah,
that's
wow.
wild.
I
that's
Yeah,
definitely didn't know
crazy.
that. That was like a national news story.
yeah,
Every channel was showing it. Putting
It's
up the
crazy.
graphic warning. You may.
it was bad.
But
It
we're really
looked a
glad
lot
you're
worse.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was really fortunate, man. Like, it's crazy to say you're fortunate when you get your eye poked out, but had it been, a centimeter more or a centimeter to the left, right, up, down, like it could have caused some serious, serious damage. So, I was blessed that it wasn't, it wasn't anything serious.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So going back to UVA as we took a little trip down around the world there. So you played
Mhm.
with a lot of great players, including yourself, including Joe Harris, Malcolm Brogdon, Mike Scott, Mike Tobey, Justin Anderson, London Perrantes, Darion Atkins, and Anthony Gill. Just to name a few of the greats. There's plenty of unnamed there. At the
Definitely.
time, a lot of people attributed all this success to Coach Bennett and his system. Obviously, there was a lot of talent. Did you guys realize at the time how much talent y'all had? I mean, as the
Yeah.
years went on, it was just better and better, and it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, we did for sure. And that's part of the confidence that a team has to have, right? Like a healthy team, I think, should think that they're capable of beating. Coach Bennett, talks about humility and is not thinking too highly or too lowly of yourself.
Yeah,
Um, so we knew that we were good, and that's one of the reasons we could go sit in a room and say, listen, if we focus, I don't see too many teams beating us. Um, but those are the more talented days. Kyle Guy and those guys, they'll argue, but they know better. They know better to
I
come
love
talk
it.
on the early 2010 days.
Oh
And
yeah.
I mean, those guys didn't get to see Mike Scott, man. I guarded Mike Scott like my first 2 years.
Hmm.
But like people kind of skip over him in the Coach Bennett era too. But he was and still is probably one of the most talented players I ever played with. Like,
Oh, he was good.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
man.
absolutely.
He's playing overseas now too. Had a long, I think, 10-year NBA career.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Hmm.
and 35, and last summer won the Finals MVP in Puerto Rico, averaged
Oh,
Oh
36.
wow.
wow, that's awesome.
So like he's
And
still
he's not just been some journeyman NBA player. He's been a contributor.
yeah. Oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. To win the
He played a
team,
big role on some of those teams.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was really the guy that kind of got the Tony Bennett era going in the right direction. I mean, without
Man,
him, and then your class coming in,
yeah,
college coaches' leash can be short. If you don't win in the first 2, 3, 4 years, you're not going to get a whole lot more time. So
And
yeah,
God
true.
knows where the
without
program would
Mike
be
and you
now.
guys, we may not even have kept him. Who knows? I mean, Lato wasn't there for super long, and Gillen, and so
Yeah, that year I think he won. I think he ended up winning first team All ACC. We rode his back the whole season, man. We
Hmm.
we lost to Florida in the first round,
Yep.
that was your sophomore year, right?
second year. Yep. And so
Yep.
Sophomore year.
yeah, yeah. So that year, yeah, it was like give the ball to Mike and just let him carry the offense, basically. Um, it was fun to watch, but I'm telling you, it was a pain in the ass to guard every day.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the names I just named, Anthony Gill, a great
Mhm.
part in some of those teams in the early 2010s. Did you play a little bit of a role in getting him to UVA?
I did. Anthony and I have known each other for a long time. We went to high school together.
Right.
Um, so he's like a brother to me. But he committed to South Carolina before I committed to Virginia. Actually, he's
Oh, really?
a year in class. So when he committed, he said, "I'm not really sure about this coach." Who's the coach's name?
Was it Frank Martin?
Frank Martin. Yep. Frank Martin has a reputation for just being,
Sure.
He's a hard head.
The polar opposite of Tony Bennett.
The exact opposite. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And Anthony's a good kid. He's a super Christian, amazing family man. Doesn't curse, none of that. So I didn't see the fit from the beginning. But when AG called me and said, he was thinking about transferring, Coach Bennett, Coach McKay came in and said, "Hey, if you think there's a chance we can get him, like talk to him." And we sat down, talked. He said he had already decided, so I didn't really help too much. It made me feel good to have another one of my brothers like that come over and rap.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So your freshman year, you actually got quite a bit of playing time, considering you're a freshman. How do you think you were able to get on the floor so early in your career, and do you think you were a little surprised by that?
I'm nice, man. What are you talking about, man? 3 years now. Nah, I mean, I didn't, honestly, we all thought I would redshirt. Um, I think Hassan Sen maybe had an injury that season. And so my minutes kind of just ticked up as the season went on. Actually, I think Mike was hurt that year, which is why he ended up getting to come back for my second year.
Right.
So we had injuries. We were really young. And I was doing everything I could to try to get on the court, doing everything I could to make an impression, to play defense and to play hard. And I think I was able to help the team out. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it was really good for me. I got to learn early, and really get from there.
Yeah. Do you think? Excuse me. Do you still keep in touch with any of the guys or coaches from your time, whether it's Joe Harris, Malcolm Brogdon, even Tony Bennett?
Oh yeah. I mean, we don't talk every day, but I'll get up to Charlottesville this year and get to see a game. So I haven't really gotten a chance to see him too much since COVID, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been traveling and playing and working, but yeah, I'll get a chance to see him. But we might not talk every day, but we're all still
Yeah.
like family. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Dad?
I was gonna say, I think that's the cool thing with the UVA. I just feel like y'all have a great fraternity and
Yeah.
a nice family atmosphere. And the guys, I mean, I just saw the other day when UVA was playing Georgia Tech and DeAndre Hunter came to basketball, shoot around, and it's just kind of cool. And also, so like Jay and I, we're UVA lifers, and we appreciate you and the foundation that your crew, built for this program because we were too young. We were in diapers when Ralph Sampson was around,
Yeah.
and you know what our 80s and 90s were like. And so, man, the foundation y'all built, and it's just amazing what that program is now. And we're appreciative for you and the rest of those guys to build that foundation. And I'll be honest, as a kid, I would have told you I'm probably going to go to the grave. I'm never going to see a national title. And I couldn't believe it, man. And I was like, when they won that, I was like a little kid jumping around in my living room. I was so excited.
That's awesome, man.
Bleed that orange myself. So
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's really amazing to hear. I appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, for sure. When you look back at your career at UVA, what are you most proud of, and what would you consider like your career highlight?
That's a good question. The ACC championship always sticks out. Um,
Oh.
that's something that you can't really put into words. It's kind of cliche to say, but it's something you dream about. Like I grew up in North Carolina, so
Oh yeah.
we would turn on the ACC championship in Greensboro Coliseum, like in class, you know what I mean, and watch like growing up. So to beat Duke, I was a huge Duke fan growing up. To beat Duke, the way that all happened was just, yeah, man, it was amazing. It was a dream come true, to be honest.
Oh yeah. And I can tell you, same with that one. Like I was jumping around, I was like, "Dang, we just won the ACC." And to beat Duke, I mean, you just can't. Between the two of those, that's just outstanding.
It was hard when we got there, but we stuck to it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What is there a toughest loss of your career?
That's also a good question. I mean, the last one always stings, right? Because you never get another chance to make up for it. Like the other ones, you play again. But the Michigan State loss in the Sweet 16, my last game, um, like just the it's over. You know what I mean? It's just that feeling of over is tough. It's tough to deal with. And Joe and I have been playing ever since then. But I bet if you were to ask him too, he'd say the same thing. Like it stings in a different way. You know?
Right.
And that was
Yeah.
only a 2-point loss, if I remember correctly.
Something like that.
I mean, it was
I know
really close.
Tev got
Was that
fouled.
game in Madison Square Garden as well?
Garden, yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was a classic.
Yeah. So, but they had a good team too. They had a really good team too. Ended up
Oh,
losing.
absolutely.
I always felt like the NCAA they had a little fun when they put those brackets together. When we saw Michigan State, was it 2 years in a row?
Mhm.
The second round in the Sweet 16. I'm like, man, they think things are funny. When we
Yeah.
got beat the 1 year, I'm like, come
Yep.
on.
I think it was Florida. Like it was Florida in there somewhere too, where it was just like we couldn't get past
Yep.
Florida. Wow.
Right.
Yeah. Tough one.
Right.
So,
You were on a team that barely finished 500 your first year, and a team that got a #1 seed. What's the difference? Just talent, a little luck, or anything you could really put your finger on?
I mean, Coach Bennett, he built a program. I mean, when I got there, and Coach Dick Bennett, his dad would come in, and we knew like if we saw him, all right, we're not touching the basketball today. It's straight defense. So he was there for like a training camp my first year when we got there. Like the start of practice for about 2 weeks, all we did was defense.
Wow.
And I mean, when you work at something like that over time, especially as a team, and you incorporate new blood that's buying in. We were athletic as all hell. Um, that was just time and repetition, like anything else. You do it for 4 years, and you get to know the guys like the back of your hand. That's really the difference. Like I probably could still remember some of the plays from that year.
Right.
So, it's just you grow together as a team, and you incorporate the things that you really want to stand on and to win, and they start to work out over time. I'm fortunate that it happened while I was there.
Right.
But over time they were going to continue to get better. They always will. Coach Bennett's always. But
We always have the motto, and Bennett we trust. So
Yeah.
sometimes you'll be looking at it like, man, what's he doing that for? But we're like, we're just gonna trust him.
yeah, he's a great coach. Amazing X's.
Is it a myth or a fact that the pack line defense is extremely difficult to pick up? And is that the reason that many players struggle early in their careers?
Yeah, no, that's true. It's true. I mean, obviously, it's not difficult for everybody. It just depends, right? But it's a lot of other teams try to emulate the pack line, and they can't do it. Not to the level that Coach Bennett and Coach Dick Bennett have perfected it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're very, very meticulous. Like there's and they see all five guys at once, right? So like if one guy is late in rotation or if one guy's a step off the pack line, like they'll call you out for it. So it's hard because you really gotta be on it at all times. And some players just aren't wired to do that, right? Like they just kind of are able to flow. Or even like athletically, sometimes it's harder for guys to slide and to get to where they need to. But once you pick it up and if you can learn it, you'll be a great defender at any level.
Right.
Yeah.
What's Coach Bennett like behind the scenes? And I'm guessing have you ever seen him lose his cool?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I see it sometimes on the sidelines, but when he loses his cool, it's probably like, gosh darn it, or
the Gal Daggett. Gosh darn it, Gal Daggett is his favorite. He always apologizes after.
Right.
He always apologizes after. But you can tell, man, he gets red in the face and his eyes kind of like they glaze over a little bit. Like you see his eyes like blink out, just walk the other way because it's coming. But he won't explode or anything, but his face will get really red and you'll see it coming. So just like a gosh darn it is coming.
Gosh darn it. The one thing about Coach Bennett, and I'm gonna turn it over to Jay. For me, my perspective is, when we lost as the #1 seed into UMBC, I mean, I wasn't saying gosh darn it. I just couldn't believe it. And to see him get up there in front of on the at the press conference and the words he said and how he handled himself and how he like there's no other coach could have handled that thing
Yeah.
as well as he did. And then to turn back around and do what they did the following year and I mean I'm learning from Coach Bennett and I'm not in the locker room. It's just from what I'm seeing on TV. And he's so impressive.
Mhm.
I said I will vote for him for president of the United States. I've gone into election one time and I just wasn't too happy with any of the candidates, and I wrote Tony Bennett in. Tony Bennett is an outstanding. He's I don't know him of
As
course,
a
but he's
coach and a human.
an outstanding human being. And then and how he puts his faith in his family, all that first, and how he treats his players, and he's just inspirational. So, just a little take from a fan's perspective. But I did want to turn it over to Jay. I think he had a few questions for you.
Yeah, Kill. So you kind of talked about, and we've talked about that, you're kind of like one of the godfathers of the program under Bennett. Um, any of those guys, younger guys, who's the last guy to reach out to you for advice on maybe something, that they were struggling with, whether it be basketball or not basketball?
I talk to all of the guys as friends now that I played with. So all of the guys that I played with, even some of the younger guys, Isaiah Wilkins, I never played with, but we stay in touch and talk.
Oh yeah.
Let's see, who else? Uh, but the younger guys, like I don't really know any of the guys on this team.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's because I haven't been back. So when I go back, this spring, I'll get a chance to catch up with guys and meet and fellowship a little bit
Yeah,
and get
beat them up a little bit in the gym.
Yeah,
no
really.
sir, no
So,
sir.
after the Wake Forest loss, Coach Bennett talked about how the pillars are easy to follow when things are going well, and the hard times are when you really know if you live it or not.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what started our conversation of having you on. You made a comment that was basically like, that's your foundation.
Mhm.
So, kind of explain to us, how the pillars, what they mean to you, and even more so, maybe even beyond basketball, I'm sure.
Yeah. Um, well, I saw that. I saw that, and it reminded me the Wake Forest game. His comments after the Wake Forest game reminded me of him teaching early in our career when we first got there about having a team that you can lose with. Meaning, when things are shaky, or when you're a number one seed and you lose in the first round, like what do you fall back on? So his pillars are the pillars of the program for a reason. Um, and I have my own, and I think every man should. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to be strong when you hit some adversity. And as a kid, that was always kind of a thing for me. I had a chip on my shoulder since I was pretty young. I've been cut a few times. Had injuries and looked over and scholarships pulled, so all of it. To go back to your question of maybe why I got some time on the court so early in my career is I think I just bought in. It felt very natural to me to just say, okay, well, even when things are going bad, like we're going to keep working until they're going well. So
Right.
never really blinked at it, and still
Yeah,
to this day, it's kind of one of my foundations.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were at Virginia, did you consider Virginia Tech, Duke,
No,
UNC? Who was the biggest rival? Because I know for us it's Virginia Tech.
Duke's a
From
close
as
second though.
as a
our biggest
fan.
rival,
Yeah.
Carolina, surprisingly, we always had
Okay.
some good battles with Carolina. Duke, of course, they were always the top guns, so we wanted to beat them and kind of dethrone them. Virginia Tech, I mean, yeah, because it was Virginia Tech, but I never really felt, they just didn't feel like they were on our level, to be honest.
I think it's
Like,
probably a football thing because I know
yeah,
growing
Yeah.
up Carolina was a big rivalry, and I think
yeah,
that dates back to Ralph Sampson and those years. But for me, I like to beat Duke and Carolina. I want to beat them
Yeah.
all.
yeah. Florida State has some good teams, and then
Right.
we always struggle with Wake Forest for some reason. Like can't tell you why, to be honest. I don't think we ever won down here though.
Right.
They would always have middle of the pack teams, but we struggle with them. We always
Right.
struggle
Yeah,
with boys. Yeah.
yeah. So this year's team is kind of on the bubble for the tournament.
Mhm.
Your third year team
Yep.
played in the NIT, and then you had the big year your senior year. Do you
Mhm.
think if this year's team, because I know, fans talk, you know, it's almost like the program has advanced to a point where, like, the NIT, we would
Yeah.
reject that offer. But do you think the NIT laid a foundation for the next year or anything like?
Oh yeah.
So you think it would be worth playing in? I guess would be my question.
Yeah. I think so. I think so. I mean, one, you never really want to turn down an experience to win something. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing,
Mm-hmm.
even if it is an NIT. I got in trouble actually. Like Coach Bennett was actually really mad about it because I did an interview after the snub my third year and said that I was pissed. I wanted to play in the tournament. I wasn't really interested in playing the NIT. Like I wanted to go to the tournament. And he was mad, man. He was hot. He he came in and was like, "We got guys that don't care about playing the NIT. Like just go home, get out of here, and come back and and focus." So like, I think it can really put a chip on you. Like if you take it the right way, I don't think my fourth year we would have been as I don't think we would have been as good. We wouldn't have had the same chip on our shoulder
Right.
um, if we hadn't gotten kicked out the year before.
Right. Yeah, similar probably to the team that did win the national championship.
Yeah,
They had to have a huge chip.
yeah, for sure.
Listening to a whole year about how Tony Bennett's teams can't play in the tournament. So,
Exactly.
so you were known for a lot of rebounding, defense, and like highlight reel dunks. What was your favorite dunk? Do you have one that you could point to, or I mean, there were so many.
There were a lot back then. um, Man, probably the Syracuse game. I had a lob on senior night to win the regular season championship, and London threw it from like half court, just kind of in transition and threw it up. That's probably my favorite one because JPJ
Yeah.
lost like the top blow.
So
And that was fun, man. That was a lot of fun.
yeah, so that actually leads me into we have like some fan questions that we took in, and this one is from Wesley Young on Facebook. The last game of the season against Syracuse, they
Yeah.
clinched the regular season title, was the loudest that I've ever heard the JPJ. What was that experience like, and what is the loudest crowd that you can remember? And just as a side note, I went and looked it up. You had 12 points and 9 boards in that game, so you were super
Um,
solid in that one.
just shy of that double double, man. I think he stole a rebound from you too, as a matter of fact. He Um, Man, okay, so JPJ is obviously, I think, the best, and they might have the longest like home streak in the country or
They
something.
do.
They do.
They do
Yeah.
right now. Yep.
So it's not an argument. Like we have the best home atmosphere in the country. Um, JPJ was a lot of fun, man. That was a whole lot of fun. Um, I will say though that Duke Cameron Indoor had us beat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have us beat, and it's not really fair because it's so small.
Right.
Yeah.
But Cameron Indoor, my first year, Nolan Smith kind of he caught me. He dunked on me on the break, and
Okay.
my ears started
Well, those
ringing.
fans are right on top of you there.
They're right
It's a
there.
little bit
They're
different
right
than
there.
JPJ.
He dunked on me, and they were on like a 6-0 run or something like that. Ended up taking the game, but that was the loudest I've ever heard in the arena. My ears were ringing, couldn't hear. That was insane.
Well, Jeff, you want to get your questions that you have from the fans
Yeah.
that you have?
We had Michael Zanchelli ask, how do the coaches give feedback to individuals, especially those struggling to get PT? And is it during practice or sit downs, taking guys out to meals, or how often did that happen?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be getting time pretty often. But even still, there's always communication, right? So even the starting five guys that play 40 minutes every night, are getting love and attention from everybody, just as the guys on down the bench. And everybody stays ready. Like it's a full team effort. It's not just the guys that are playing. And so the guys on the bench that they might not get as much time, but they're working out with Coach Curtis in the weight room, and they're staying after, they're getting there before to get extra work in. They're practicing hard. Like those guys are, they've got a full-time job as well.
Yeah.
But I think Coach Bennett Coach Bennett and the staff, Coach Sanchez, Coach Williford have always done a great job of working with guys individually. And then just communicating. We're a family, and we all have a common goal.
Cool. We also had one. This one's from Facebook. Jamie Minix is a current UVA big man. Jordan Minor played 4 seasons of zone before coming to UVA. And I know you're catching up on this team. So, but the question is his recent improvement and inclusion in the lineup just a direct correlation to grasping the pack line and the nuances it entails?
I watched their game. What was it, last night? Was that last night?
Yep.
In state.
Yep.
He's still got a long way to go. Got a long way to go. But he is a good defender. He has a good body. He knows how to, he's physical, which we need. So I think he's helped out a lot. I think he still has a lot of improvement to go. You can still see he's kind of late on a couple rotations and isn't hedging as hard as maybe Coach Bennett would like.
Right.
But he's getting it, and he plays really hard, which the team needs right now.
Right.
He's a solid rebounder, a physical body.
I was gonna say, and last night going against that Burns, I mean Burns is so big.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw when we played NC State the first time, and we were playing with Buchanan, and when he stood up next to Burns, and he's a lot taller than him, but man, he looked like a toothpick. But even Minor, he looked small compared to Burns, but he did, he played him tough, which was good. So
right. Played him tough, played him solid.
Yeah,
that's his strength is post defense. You get him moved out on the perimeter, it might be a little different, but
right.
Like I said, he holds down the paint pretty well. I like he looked good yesterday.
Oh yeah. And Jack, you got a couple?
Yeah, I got two. I got two for you here. So from UVA Hoops Riff on X or Twitter, for those of you who don't know, he asks, "What is your advice to young bigs grinding through the Bennett learning curve?" So you kind of answered a little bit about Jordan Minor, but any other words?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to keep at it. Coach he's very demanding of his bigs because I think they do hold a lot of responsibility. You kind of have to. You quarterback the defense in terms of calling screens and, being able to read everything, but you also have to, you've got to work. You've got to work and you've got to be unselfish and selfless. But, if you really lean into that role, which you've seen guys do over the past, Anthony Gill was really good at it, Darion, Mike Toby, like those guys eventually leaned into the role and you've seen, how good that they became. So, just have to be patient, trust the process. And things work out. And get in the weight room.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. From Doug Lewis on Facebook. So, where were you when the Who's won the title in 2019? Were you in a different country? Were you watching the game at all?
Oh, man, I missed it. I was in France. I had a game the next night, so I couldn't stay up too late. Mm-hmm. And it came on at like 4:00 in the morning, my time, or something like that. So, yeah, I missed it. But I woke up and let everybody know, and nobody cared because it's France. But I was happy. I was on top of the world for about 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, and you should be.
Oh,
did you get with Coach Bennett at all after that?
Oh yeah. I got home that summer, and I think we all met.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Akil, it's been a true pleasure talking to you tonight. We appreciate all the information and time, all the stories you have. And thanks again for coming on, and best wishes moving forward.
Thanks, Jack, Jeff, Jay. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. We really appreciate
so much. So once again, thanks so much to Akil Mitchell. That is a great guest to be able to talk to. Just to be able to talk to a guy from those early 2010s teams and hit some of his stories and little random tidbits about the team are just absolutely amazing to hear. So, Jay, what were your first takeaways from the interview?
Man, it was just even preparing for the interview. It was a stroll down memory lane that I really
Oh yeah.
enjoyed. Just some of the names that I had forgotten. Um, you know, for because they may not have been stars. Even we talk about in the interview all the stars that were there with him. But there was a lot of role players there too. That when you're going back and you're looking at the teams, you're like, oh man, I forgot about that guy. He was he was really good too. But no, Akil was a pleasure to talk to, a stand-up guy. You can tell Tony Bennett really had an impact on his life
Mm,
because he still talks about the pillars and
yeah. A great life
um,
leader.
yeah, a great leader. And just some of the things he said, are things that if you listen to a Tony Bennett conference today, um, like he talked about staying with it, continue to work hard, be ready, stay ready. Tonight might not be your night, but stay ready. And how many times have we heard that this year when he was talking about like Buchanan or Gertrude or those guys, hey, might not be your night tonight. You might not be playing right now. Stay ready. Stay ready. And, so he's got a great message that I think resonates with young men, and we're blessed to have Tony as our coach, and we were blessed as a podcast to have Akil. So,
Yeah.
um, but I could sit and talk and ask him questions all night. So we had to be, we had to cut some of the questions we wanted to ask just because I honestly, I know me and Jeff, we could just talk to him for 3 hours, but um,
Yeah.
maybe another day we'll have him on again and we'll ask some of the other questions.
Yeah. Dad.
Oh yeah. As I said to him, I'm thankful for the foundation they built for this university's basketball team. That he was a part of Tony Bennett's, getting this program going where it's gotten to. And I said many times I fully expected I was going to go to my grave and I would never see a UVA national championship in basketball, football. And I can't believe it that it actually happened. And those guys are the ones we thank them for building that foundation along with Coach Bennett and buying into Coach Bennett's program, buying into his style of play because that's not for everybody. That's not everybody's cup of tea. And if those early guys don't buy in, then we don't have Coach Bennett and we probably don't have this national title that we have and the success his basketball team has had. So um, he was a thrill to talk to. He says, Virginia Tech, he wouldn't consider them their biggest rival because, well, they just weren't on our level, and I quite appreciated
Yeah.
that. You know, um, and in basketball, I kind of see us, Duke, Virginia, and
Yeah.
UNC. Even though we like to beat Virginia Tech and anything we can beat them in, but I got a kick out of that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also got a kick out of he I wouldn't say sent a message, but let the Jerome and Kyle guys know that they'd have some trouble against the early
Oh
tens
yeah.
teams and some of the people they'd have to guard. I love that. That was awesome.
I tell you, that's a great debate to have
And it
because
really is. And I
those
think that could be
teams,
a whole thing that we could do for another podcast in the spring when we don't got anything to talk about because it if it's not for Michigan State, I think we might have some national championship contenders any of those years, and not just
Oh
Michigan
yeah.
State. Obviously, if we can just win those close games, and pull out some of those close wins, those are all national title teams. It when you
those Joe Harris,
yeah,
Malcolm Brogdon,
the,
those guys,
it's
as
crazy to
big as
believe I was reading down for the one question all the names. I'm like, my God, like, because as the years went on, these were all young guys at the time. As years went on, London Prontes was a leader of the team at one point. Malcolm Brogdon, Joe Hare, all these guys. Like, it was unbelievable the amount of depth guys we had. So that
Jack, do you remember being at Malcolm Brogdon's senior night?
I don't think no, I wasn't there. It was just you two at the Miami game.
Oh, was it just me and
Yeah,
your dad?
I
Okay,
I
I was
remember it.
thinking
It was against Miami, right? Because
it
I
was
watched it
against
on
Miami. They hit
TV.
a shot at the buzzer
It was on
yeah.
that I don't
TV, and
think.
I was very unhappy about it that I
Oh,
didn't get to go.
I think they beat us that night, if I remember
They
correctly.
I
did.
think they did too, and I
They did.
remember because they had the bracketology guy the whole game taking up all
They
the
hit a
TV.
crazy buzzer shot, but I don't think it counted. But then I think they beat us anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, anyway.
All right, so let's go to football. The 2024 official schedule has been released. A lot of home games early is something that we noticed around the Lowe household, and a lot of away games late in November. But a tough schedule, I'd say. Some big opponents, some big ACC opponents. Notre Dame, obviously, and then you have the home and home with Maryland. What? What are y'all? What's the first thing you noticed, Dad? Let's start with you.
That it's back heavy as far as the toughness of the schedule, and Maryland coming back to Charlottesville. This will be the first time, I believe, since leaving the ACC,
Since
right?
I believe so, yeah.
Um, and then also SMU coming to Charlottesville, one of our new conference foes. So that should be interesting to see. And we'll see. Looking at the schedule, I could see us, I could see us finding a way to get 6 wins, and I hope for more. But we could end up 4 wins. It's hard. It's hard to tell. That top 5, 6 games, but then it gets tough. And you got Clemson and Carolina, Notre Dame. Go
Notre
to Notre
Dame.
Dame, and at Virginia Tech. We just got to get that monkey off of our back. So excited for football. A lot of early home games, and then we're going to hit that road in the back end of the season. So what do you think, Jay?
Yeah, some exciting games. Tony Elliott going back to Clemson
Oh yeah.
against Dabo,
Mm-hmm.
October 19th. That's one I'll definitely be. I mean, of course, we're interested in all of them, but that'll be a game that I think will be a good program marker game. Because and when I look at the schedule, the first 5, 6, even if you want to include Louisville, and I think you should, even though I think Louisville is going to be a sleeper team this year in the ACC. If you come out of the gate and win those, and people would think you're crazy to say you could start 5-0 or 6-0, but when you look at the lineup, okay, Richmond, yep, you should win that. At Wake Forest, you don't. I mean, they're still as our old quarterback would say. I mean, it's just Wake Forest, right? I mean, and then Maryland, Coastal Carolina, Boston College, Louisville. You could conceivably win all those and be 6-0 heading to a huge game at Clemson.
And man,
I mean, it's not
imagine
likely
that.
that you're going to win them all, but if you were in
Imagine.
that situation, man. But like you said, Jeff, very back heavy. We close at Notre Dame, SMU at home, who is projected to be like a top 5 school in the ACC, and then at Virginia Tech. And even before the Notre Dame game, I mean, it's not. We've never played well at Pittsburgh.
Right.
And then Carolina coming into our house before that. I mean, it's that you got to win early, or it's not going to be a good season record-wise if you don't.
And
Yeah.
we're not going. We won't start out 5 or 6-0, but just because it's just something will happen. But if you can get off the 4-2, 5-1 start, and then come up and win one of those games that you're not expected to win to get you to 6, or really the goal's got to be let's get to a bowl. That's our next step in the pecking.
Yeah.
Especially, I think you said we're picked last in the conference this year.
Yeah, 17th out of 17.
If you can get picked last and then find a way to make a bowl game, that'd be huge growth in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Paul D. Camp Community College Bowl. I want to get to a bowl this year.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to get off to a quick start. A lot of, like y'all said, back heavy games. But man, if we could start out that 4-2, 5-1, and I know it sounds unrealistic, but even that 6-0, imagine going into that Clemson game with some momentum. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a tough game, and Clemson, they should be back. I mean, that could end up being a huge turning point for this team, I think. That could be like the win they had against North Carolina last year. If they could find a way to somehow squeak out a win in that game, that could really be, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on the schedule?
No, I don't really have anything. I'm looking forward to it, but as we get closer to the season, we'll be able to break some of that stuff down for you.
More and more.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we have some exciting talk about the NFL picks from last week from the summary. So, do one of you want to give that little summary? The NFL
Hey,
picks.
I was 4-0 with you giving it out last week, so you go ahead.
No,
Yeah, so we said
Jack
this
has
last
already
week.
given it out.
Yeah,
Jack's already
we said
given it
this
out,
last not last week, last episode, just a few days ago. I
and I
went
know.
4-0. Jay went 4-0. What'd you go, Dad? I don't forgot.
I was
I
2-2.
forgot. 2-2.
I was
Okay.
2-2.
Okay.
I broke
Okay.
even.
So we'll see how it goes this week.
So as
So
a podcast, we were 10-2.
we were 10-2 as a podcast. I hold you to that. That was great by all of us. So great job, guys. Great work. Um, so for the year, Jay's sitting at a nice 23-8. My dad's 16-15, and myself 12-19. You know, I had a rough regular season, but I'm picking it up as the playoffs go on. So overall, 51-42 for if you're making all of our picks. Of course, it's for entertainment purposes only. But if you're making all of our picks, you're positive right now. 51-42. So the way it'll work this week, as obviously there's only 2 games between Kansas City and Baltimore, and the Lions and the the Lions and the Niners. We went ahead. You got to pick two, either the spread, the over/under, or a player prop. You got to pick two out of those three. So we'll start out with Kansas City at Baltimore. So Jay, you want to give your picks here?
Sure. So last week I said, I was going to stay away from the who won the Kansas City game. But I stated if you're going to force me to pick it, I'd take Kansas City in the points. If you're going to tell Mahomes he sucks all week and he's not going to win on the road, where in the same situation this week, you're getting an extra point or half point depending on where you're at. So I'm going to take Kansas City +4 for the line. And then for my prop, I'm going to a plus money bet. We love those. And I'm looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, what they do best on defense. And that's shut down the opposing team's number one receiver. And you could argue who that really is on the Ravens. But I'm going to say that Zay Flowers is held under 3.5 catches. So under 3.5 catches at +125.
Okay.
Oh,
Dad, you want to
Jay,
get
you're
your
looking to win
picks?
some money.
You want to go
So,
with?
yeah, for me, I said I would never bet against Patrick Mahomes again, and that's exactly what I'm not going to do this time too. I'm taking Kansas City +4. I think it's going to be a close game, and I'd like to see the Ravens win that game. But I'm taking Kansas City +4, and I'm going to take under 44.5 points. I think we're going to get low scoring. I think the defenses are going to play, and I'm seeing something like I don't know who's going to win the game, but 20-17 final, something like that. So, but I'm gonna take Kansas City +4 and under 44.5.
Yeah, so I don't know how y'all will feel about this because obviously it's been flipped around the last few weeks, but it looks like I'm on an island on my own here for the first game for both of my picks. So I'm going to take the Ravens -4, not only because I think they will cover, but for those of you who don't know, the NFL is a little scripted when it comes to who's going to be in the Super Bowl. I don't know if you've seen the Super Bowl logo conspiracy, where the last 2 years the colors of the Super Bowl logo have been the same colors of the teams that are actually in it. And this logo comes out in the preseason. So it's purple and red this year, signifying Ravens and 49ers. And I believe that the script will be upheld. So that also foreshadows my next pick a little bit too. But the Ravens -4. And then I'm also going to go over 45.5. I think
And
Mahomes is
Jack,
going to. Let's go ahead.
as
44
a
and a half.
44.5.
yeah,
That's what I said.
yeah, as a minor, you might not understand this, but you could think the Ravens are going to win, but they could win by 3, 2, or 1, and you lose your bet.
Yeah, and you're right, but I'm
Just
taking
saying
them
they're
minus
gonna.
4. Yep. I
All
know, I
right.
understand. But yeah, I'm gonna take over 44.5. I'm opposite of you guys. I think it'll be high scoring. Mahomes is gonna be feeding points on the scoreboard, and for the Ravens, if they want to win this football game, they're gonna have to keep up in the scoring. So those are my two picks. And Jay, you want to give us your Lions Niners picks?
Sure. So that line is Niners -7, and the over/under is 51.5 in that one. So I don't know. I want the Lions to win this game
Yeah.
desperately.
Mm-hmm.
In my heart of hearts, I want the Lions to win. I'm a Lions fan this week, and so I'm going to take them and the 7 points. That's a lot of points in a championship game. San Francisco didn't really look good against Green Bay last week. I feel like they were kind of lucky to pull that one out.
Oh, yeah.
And Debo may not play. He may or may not play. We still don't know. With all those factors being there, the Lions are a heart team. They're not going to quit. Dan Campbell's going to have those guys ready. So I'm going to take the Lions plus 7. And then for my second play, if I like the Lions, you got to like Amon-Ra St. Brown. And his prop is 84.5 yards at minus 115. So I'm going to take the over 84.5 yards. I think he goes over 100. You could outline that and get a little bit more plus money for those that know the lingo. And I would be willing to go to a plus 100 on that. But for this purpose, I'll play the regular play at 84.5 over.
Okay.
Me, I got I'm in agreement. I'm taking the Lions plus 7. That's a lot of points. And like you said, I didn't think the 49ers looked that hot last week. I really thought Green Bay should have won that game. A couple of bad throws by Jordan Love, unfortunately. And then I'm gonna go with Jay's rule of the 50 points or more over under. And I went ahead. I'm gonna take the under 51.5 for that game.
I think that's a great play, Joe. I really do. I really do.
I believe in it too.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at on the 49ers game, 49er Lion game. And I want the Lions to win desperately too.
Yeah. All right. For my final picks, again, as I said, the NFL is scripted. It's already decided who's going to be the Super Bowl, and I know what my dad just said about, oh well, they could end up winning by 3, and that's true. It's very true. I got the 49ers minus 7 though, and I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm also rooting for the Lions. I'm like y'all. I am rooting for the Lions. Just something tells me it could be one of those ugly games, like a weird score, like 24-10 or something like that, in the 49ers' favor. I think the 49ers are going to be ready to play, and I think they're going to come out there and they're going to beat Detroit. And going the same way as my dad and Jay's rule, I'm going to take under 51.5 myself as well. So, well, all right. I think that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. We appreciate all of you for listening. Once again, thanks. Huge shout out to Akil Mitchell. That was awesome talking with him. As always, be sure to follow all the social medias at Talk UVA Sports on X, at Cavalier Connection on Facebook, at Cavalier Connection on YouTube, and of course, as always, on Spotify at Cavalier Connection. It's been a pleasure, guys. Any final thoughts?
12 o'clock Saturday.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I say 12 o'clock Saturday. Keep the train running. And then last thing, thanks to Akil for coming on and spending a little bit of time with us tonight. We really enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks to Akil, and go Hoos.
Go Hoos.
Go Hoos.